Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Astro Priestesses Roundtable. We are so happy to be with all of you again after we've done this epic summit with so many, well, we expanded the roundtable to include so many other brilliant astrologers and people who have insights and things to share with us. And that is still available. So if you haven't signed up for it and you haven't seen it yet, then there'll be a link in the show notes for you to sign up for that so you can get access to all of that. And here we are as we are approaching the Pisces solar month. We're recording this on Valentine's Day, so the love is in the air. And I think love is what's changing everything and what's is going to transform our world if we're coming from a place of love. We need more of us to really be in that space of I think joyous love is the answer. So, and Pisces being about universal love, the Pisces solar month, starting on February 18th. And the thing that I feel inspired to start off talking about is the Mars Saturn trine, Mars retrograde, Mars out of bounds. Out of bounds means that it's outside the boundaries of where the sun rises and sets on the horizon at its furthest north and furthest south points. And that there's certain times planets can go out beyond that. And that's considered to be a time when these planets are not operating in the usual way, outside the mode of usual operation. So a wild card or an unpredictability factor, that kind of thing. And Mars really went out of bounds in December and it stays out of bounds until April. I think April 6th is when it's finally coming back in bounds. And it's been trying Mars. I mean, Saturn. Mars has been trying Saturn. And so uh and the last trine, exact trine was February 9th. The first one was in September. I think it was the 29th of September. And then the last one will be April 4th. And what's fascinating, and I hope people get a chance to go out and see this, is Mars is has been got very close to the two stars, Castor and Pollux, in the constellation of the Twins. Now, this is again how the signs and the constellations are different because Mars is in Cancer, but it's with the twins. It's also inside the sacred hoop of stars, a magical hoop of stars. And I'll provide a link to more about the sacred hoop for people that don't know, because I'm not going to go into all of that right now. But it's a magical place for Mars to be hanging out all this time in the sacred hoop of stars. And it's backed up from Castor and Pollux, so it's making this beautiful triangle in the evening sky. And also Mars was just opposite the sun in January, and it's closest to the Earth, it's brightest, it's stunning. And just to see this beautiful triangle that's being created, I hope people get a chance to go out and see that. That it's pretty cloudy here today. I don't know if we'll be able to see that here, but and I know places are dealing with those weather issues, but it's going to be there for a while. And in fact, Mars is stationing direct on February 23rd at 17 degrees Pisces, very much inside the sacred hoop, very much in the twins, and above Sirius, the star Sirius. So it's not exactly the same degree as Sirius. Sirius is 14 something Cancer, and Mars is going to be 17. But Sirius is one of the Bohemian stars, the magical stars of the ancient alchemists, and it's also the wishing star. So with Mars being there, aligning with Sirius, it trined Saturn back in September, exactly aligned with Sirius. It's going to be very close, and on the April 4, it'll still be around I think well, actually, it's closer to Castor and Pollux. It'll be just moving outside the sacred hoop and aligned with Procyon or Procyon, another of the stars of the sacred hoop. So, this is really telling us something big is happening because Mars can only go retrograde every couple years. And to go retrograde in this part of the sky, maybe every 15 years, maybe 17 years, but for sure about around every 47 years is when it is more exact and even more exact at 79 years. So this is a big deal. And I've been feeling into Mars, and it went retrograde in Leo and then went back into Cancer, and it's going direct in Cancer. was opposite the sun in Cancer, so it really has this Cancer theme that's strong with it. And it's interesting to think about how the sacred masculine may be considering how are we creating a safe space in the world for everyone? How are we creating a way for everyone to feel safe to be who they are? In patriarchal culture, that has not been the case. No one has really been safe to be who they are. So that's the question that I'm asking. And with it trying Saturn, Saturn helps to bring things into form. This is a great question for us to be asking at this time. And as Saturn is getting ready to station, it's pretty much paused right where it is at that point. It goes into a still point. So it's going into the still point, and that's where anything and everything is possible in the still point at the station point. And I love trying to think of the guy's name. He wrote something about the still point who said it's neither here nor there. It's neither from nor toward. It's at that point of where everything is happening and nothing is happening all at the same time. So this is a great time to be considering what is this energy happening for us, and that Mars will then, as it goes out of bounds in April and makes another trine to Saturn in April, it's like, what will we begin to see coming into form that is about how we are creating a safer, more kind, compassionate, loving world, community, a way to be within ourselves and with each other. So I'm gonna, I'll pause here and pass it on, but that's what I'm really lit up about right now.
Yeah, and like connecting with the energy of this Saturn, because in a way they are trining the whole month just for a few degrees, and it's so interesting that Mars is going to go direct the February 23rd, and then Venus and Mercury they're going to start the retrograde during this month, going back to Pisces, Venus and Mercury, both of them. So there is this theme of really feeling a very deep sadness for mourning any Pisces energy of like an ending. There is a big ending happening in this month, and we all feel that whatever is going to be born is better, and there is like this rebirth, but at the same time maybe there is this deep sadness of the life as we know it is done. It's like there is no way to go back to this, and so much is happening under the surface because these two signs, Pisces and Cancer, they are not so visible. It's like they are gestating things. It's in the womb. For me, I always say that Pisces is like the womb of the cosmos. It's like where everything is created, and Cancer is also like this mother energy. So there is something that the masculine is creating. There is a new structure that is being gestated, but we are not seeing it yet. And we will very soon, like in a few months, there will be like sprouts of whatever is happening to life. But now I feel there is this importance and really creating a space for the morning of a life that is done, and even like a society that as we know it, even if like there is this resistance socially for change, the change is really unstoppable at this point. And the astrology of 2025 and 2026 is so potent and so different of anything that we have ever experienced, that as human beings we also have this like melancholy in a way. I think Saturn in Pisces has been very melancholy, like nostalgic, and just feeling everything before something new is happening. So it's very important for this month to really create the space for feeling the feelings, and like if one day we don't have so much energy, just take our time, because then the The speed is going to change rapidly afterwards. So this month is still a pause in so many ways. And even when things don't seem that they're happening, they're happening. I think the trining between Mars and Saturn is like there is a lot of energetic doing. Like there are like a lot of activations and a lot of things that are happening that are not visible, but they will be visible soon. And but that movement for me is super fascinating. It's like Mars stationing direct, and just a few days later it's like, okay, so we maybe feel for a few days, let's move, and then it's Venus and Mercury, not yet. Then they need to go back. And as a triple Aries, it's like, come on, can we move already? But yeah, it's like we need to redream everything. And there is such an important part of the energy, like the vibrational creation of reality, that is Pisces. That is what is being reshaped in so many ways, that the more work that we do with meditations, with dream work, with breath work, with somatics, is a month for really doing that and being reborn with the spring and with the new energies that are coming.
Wow, I love what you are both bringing through. And Mar, I've been really tuning into this ending and beginning of these epic cycles that we are all experiencing. I mean, Pisces season is leading us into this pretty epic equinox that we're going to have, when we're crossing that threshold between Pisces and Aries season. And many are tuning into just after this, this equinox and just after, as, many are interpreting it as the ending of the Kali Yuga and the beginning of a new age. And there's all these like mind-blowing cycles that Kaylin's been tuning into, like with the how the Venus and Mercury retrogrades are happening in this dance in a way that have not happened in, like, I think you said thousands of years. I mean, there's so much wow, like out of this world astrology that we're experiencing. And you don't even have to know, this is Pisces. You don't even have to know all the details about it. Like just knowing that and tuning into that energetic is just, it feels huge. But we really are in this ending and beginning of new cycles. I always consider the first part of retrogrades, Pisces season is the first part of the Mercury and Venus retrograde. Because right when we move into Aries season, Venus will meet the sun, she'll rise as morning star. Mercury will meet the sun, rising as morning star. And those are starting new Venus and Mercury cycles. But the first part of the retrograde, to me, of every retrograde, especially Venus and Mercury, who are between the earth and sun, is an ending of one cycle. So we're coming to an end of a 19-month Venus cycle. The Mercury cycles are 4 months, they're much quicker, but we're coming to the end of these cycles. So that the end of the way that one way of thinking and perceiving, and then Venus, the way that we're connected to our heart, and we can share and love and affection with others. I mean, there's so much, our values, but some of us may be experiencing the endings and much more um, big ways that might feel challenging. Some of us might be experiencing the endings in more subtle ways that maybe seem a little more symbolic. So if you are someone who's experiencing some really maybe painful endings in your life, sometimes just knowing that astrologically we are in this space of like epic ending, so we can rebirth something new that is so different than we've ever experienced before. Sometimes that can bring us comfort to know that. And there's something that, so the Pisces invitation is, I'm feeling it as we've started this. It feels like so much energy is streaming in. It almost feels electric, which also makes me think Uranus, but it's like I feel all of this energy from the higher realms of consciousness streaming in, which is very much the Pisces energetic. It's almost hard to kind of, for me to even stay here, like embodied and focused and grounded because I'm kind of wanting to open up to more of a meditative state. But this is a reminder for each of us that we are the oracle, and throughout Pisces season to find that space to open up to receive the oracle of what we're what we can dream into and rebirth in this time. For some of us, for me, often going out under the night sky is how I really can open up and receive in. Maybe for some of us, it might be sitting by water, right? Pisces season, maybe taking a bath, maybe meditating, like maybe dancing, whatever it is. There's this beautiful invitation to remember that we are the oracle. And if you don't know what you're rebirthing, that's beautiful because that's the Pisces energy. It is the formless, it is the mystery. And we don't quite know what we're rebirthing at that time. And that is part of the birthing process as the baby, metaphorically or literally is going through the veil, like through the birthing canal and rebirthing, right? There is that amnesia that happens as we're going through the veil and then like awakening. So if you don't know what you're rebirthing, that's beautiful and that's okay. And I invite everyone to just surrender into the unknown because when we can release what we've known and surrendering into the unknown, that's where we can rebirth something new. We're going to eclipse season, that starts the first eclipse is March 14th. I'm sure we'll have more to share. There's so much with that eclipse, but eclipse portals are also times of these really powerful course corrections or these quantum portals to align us with our soul's evolution and our soul's destiny. So, yeah, I'll just leave it there for now.
All of this is so beautiful and inspiring, and I'm right with you, Jamie. I'm struggling to stay feet on the ground a little bit right now, um, because there is so much, and it's really interesting when it's like really wonderful things, and then really horrible things, and then how do you live with that, and how do you? I'm actually a little bit emotional right now, but how do you hold that? And how do you maybe channel it? And sometimes it can happen when we have a stellium, which we do have this build up. We have um, the North Node and Sun is, and then we're going to have, new moon in Pisces, and then all of this energy kind of coalescing to the same place. And for you, you will have that somewhere in your chart that is saying, everything's coming here. And it feels very Piscean in that everything's returning to the source. So, whatever the source is that it's really important for you to be connecting with, but tuning into where everything's coalescing for you. But what can be difficult sometimes when we have a lot of planets in one part of our chart is it's like too many cooks in the kitchen. Sometimes we don't know what to do with it. And I saw this hilarious cooking meme yesterday, and I was like, oh, that is definitely me sometimes, where she's just like running around and she's not actually like doing anything. And she's like, I need to do this and I need to do that. But she's just like trying to move between all the things, but nothing is happening. And nothing's even moving between, her hands. And so it's almost like that energy sometimes of being so scattered that nothing is getting done. So that's where I think the Pisces energy can also root us back into oneness and also one at a time-ness, because we can't do it all at once constantly. Sometimes we're really blessed with those moments of integration and synthesis and synchronization, but other times it really is just messy. And we have to just say, okay, right here, right now, this is my purpose. And Pisces is a Jupiterian sign. And I think there's that reminder of like, wow, how can I handle this chaos of life in such a dharmic way with this sense of sacred purpose, with this sense of higher self-awareness and alignment, and knowing that it's part of being human. And I think that's why these kinds of times are so unifying, which I think is also very needed because there is also so much division. But I think there's one thing that all humans can agree is one of the most unifying factors is it is grief. It is mourning. It is that awareness of the tenuousness of life and the human condition. So I think we can allow it to really wash over ourselves and allow it, maybe take a step back and say, okay, maybe I'm not going to be able to juggle all these pieces as brilliantly as I might be able to in other seasons. And right now I'm going to let it be what it is. And I think that's the highest wisdom for this time. And especially as we tune into, feeling into the eclipse portal that's also coming through. There's an invitation to let go of a lot, and things can happen really quickly. So it is really that invitation of just not holding on and then realizing, well, if it's still here, it's for me right now. And there's such a beautiful wisdom and beauty of that sense of impermanence that I think Pisces reminds us of as well. So finding that where that is in your chart and then tuning into what is that? It almost feels like there's like a mandala that's wanting to be shaped within each of us and kind of bringing it back to the heart, but it's connecting all of these different threads of experience, self and other, and it is very otherworldly. So I think that's the invitation for this month ahead.
Beautifully said. And oh my gosh, everything that's been said is so good. The dream weaving, Piscean energy, and how are we dream weaving a new reality? And the how many shamanic traditions saw that we are each a part of that dreaming. And in fact, one of my favorite books from times past from John Perkins is The World is as We Dream It. So if we are dreaming into this new reality from a place of love and compassion and kindness and joy, but also having been willing to feel our grief and to experience what that's about, because oftentimes we dismiss that and don't. So I love what you were saying there, Nora, about that. And you'll appreciate this. Rumi quote says, I saw grief pouring cups of sorrow, and I said, it tastes sweet, doesn't it? And grief said, now you've gone and ruined my enterprise, because how can I sell sorrow if people know that it's a joy, that it leads to joy, or something like that. I don't have that exactly right, but something like that. But meaning that when we allow ourselves to grieve what we're grieving, what we feel, and it's like there was a time in my life I was going through something. I was like, I'm in super relief and major grief. How do I deal with that? Because I was really glad that something was ending, but I was also grieving it deeply. And so that is our opportunity. I love that. Um, with Venus going retrograde on March 1st, in the Aries, in the sign of Aries, but between the fish and the Pegasus constellation. And it's starting with the star Algenib in Pegasus and going back to Markab in Pegasus. And Mercury's pretty much doing the same thing. And it's been 251 years since Venus has done this retrograde in this way. For Mercury, it's been 46 years since it's done this retrograde in this way. So they didn't do it together the last time they were doing it. Um, and and Pegasus is just the winged horse, the how are we flying into, or how are we being transported into this new reality? Are we willing to let go and climb on and take the ride? And then, of course, we'll start the eclipse season, as already talked about, and I'll let others talk more about that. Leading up to this amazing equinox it's a portal in itself, around being surrounded by an eclipse portal, being surrounded by the retrograde of Mercury and Venus. Um, this is just so wild and so different. We'll talk more about it in the Aries in our Aries class, but just wanting to plant the seeds that just this is the time for us to really allow ourselves to be present to what's going on, and to allow ourselves to feel what we feel, and also allow space for the joy that can be coming through as well.
Yeah, and like everything that we are sharing, I feel that there is this knowing when we allow ourselves to cry when we are sad, we feel fully alive. normally. Like there is this sense of knowing, like if you are in love and you lose a person, like you feel the love even stronger. And sometimes you are like laughing and crying at the same time because you are so grateful for loving that person fully. And one of the things that I see now, like very strongly with this, is how can we take off our bracelet, like any helmet, anything that is covering our heart is like, it's the time to allow us to feel and to really trust that our heart is very powerful and it can feel everything. And what is blocking us the most is when we are constricting the heart in order not to feel. So Pisces has this powerful energy to really dissolve anything that is between our heart and life. And I feel this is like the biggest lesson. And for me, Pisces is the bravest sign of the 12. Like is the people who chose to be born with a lot of Pisces energy is like they are the bravest ones because it's to feel everything, and to feel everything in this age is to feel a lot, because it's like there are wars and there are people being hungry and there are crimes, and that's part of the reality that we are experiencing at the moment. And the Pisces people, they feel that in the field. And and we are called, all of us, even if we have zero Pisces emphasized, there is an area, as we were saying, that is now super highlighted. And it's like, how can we dissolve everything that is not allowing us to feel life with all the colors, with all the differences? And this in the eclipse is so emphasized with the lunar eclipse. That is so interesting. I love when the lunar eclipse comes before the solar, because solar is like new beginnings, and here it feels very much as everything that we were saying. Is like the lunar eclipse of the 14th of March is with Saturn, like the sun will be with Saturn, with the North Node, and with Neptune. And Saturn is like by 1 degree to the sun, and the solar eclipse. This is like all the Saturn, when it's not healthy, is that protection that is not allowing us to feel anything. And Saturn, when it's healthy, is a solid tree. I always feel like it's like when you're grounded and you are like a tree that is moving with the wind and is feeling life, like it's solid, it's anchor, it has boundaries sometimes, like it knows how to say no and yes, and limits, but it's allowing life to move and to flow. Is not constricting life. And that is so emphasized. And with Neptune in the picture, that it dissolves all the Saturnian limits, and the Virgo, the moon in Virgo, also telling us like every place where we felt we are not enough, where we felt that we need to be perfect, when we are ashamed for not being perfect, when we are ashamed for making a mistake or for not fitting in. It's like dissolve that, because you are part of the universal love of like life. Allow life to guide you. And it's so hard, right? Like we try to control life and there is no way. Like it's always the opposite. It's like open yourself to life and you will be guided. But that requires to surrender control. And that is what we are learning in this month. Like, I think it's what we are learning in 2025, in the whole year. But in this lunar eclipse, is like any place where we are trying to control life, especially in those areas where we have Virgo, Pisces, there are forces that are bigger. And it's like dissolve that. And there is also a Rumi quote about like, your task in this world is not to search for love, but is to dissolve all the barriers that you build against love. And I think that is like the quote for the eclipse. It's like anything that we are trying to protect ourselves, to separate from others, to really feel safe, is like that is what is really blocking us to feel safe, because like there is a bigger net and the dream weave and everything. So it's such a powerful eclipse with Mercury, with Venus as well in Aries. So there is this new pulse of energy of rebirth, and at the same time this like big morning. And is the theme that I keep seeing in the whole thing.
I just wanted to say I'm noticing the time, and Nora, I know you need to go. So do you want to go next? And then and then Jamie, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure. I appreciate this conversation so much, and I think it's so necessary. We will continue to build on it. This is a little bit um, changing a direction, but something I've really noticed that I felt needed to be shared because so many people have been asking me about it is like mystery illnesses and Neptune conjunct the North Node. That is why. So I just wanted to put that out there. And a lot of times it's like combinations of things. Like one thing was usually okay, and then this other thing over here was usually okay, but for some reason they're coming together right now and it's causing inflammation or causing a reaction. And so that's a very different thread than what we've been talking about. But I thought that people might want to know that if you've got something that's seeming very mysterious, it's really like thinking outside the box and looking at everything very holistically, especially with Neptune. And there are potential for deception, for fogginess, feeling a little bit like, oh, I'm in the mystery of my health or the mystery of my body even. And it really is about purifying the water. So, I mean, that does bring us back to the thread, because everything's always happening, mind, body, spirit. So, how can you purify the water? And exactly like you said, Mar, it's, the crying, the releasing, but I also think literally drinking just so much water, so much more than you think you need to drink. And I live in the desert, so I live by that mantra. I know you too, Kaylin. So just really letting water be your medicine, and it can probably help you to solve some of those mysteries.
That's so powerful. I love that. And the also if we can get like really pure sources of water to drink as well, that's like living water and alive water, where so much of the water that we have and drinking water is not alive water and filled with so many chemicals. So, that kind of brings us back to the Virgo Pisces access as well. But I've also really, Mar, I love what you were speaking about the lunar eclipse. This is an energy I've so been tuning into. I actually just met with Kaylin earlier this week and Martha Alter Hines as well to record on this for the Superconductor of Love Summit, which is going on during all of this. But an aspect of the Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node dance that we're having for all of 2025 and half of 2026 that this eclipse is really tuning us into. There's so much about every nodal axis is so multifaceted and multidimensional. But what I've really been tuning into, which you spoke to, Mar, is with this eclipse and the Virgo South Node, there's this really powerful invitation to heal self-blame, self-doubt, self-judgment, self-criticism, self-shame, all of those kind of shadow dynamics of Virgo that can come out. And we can do that through, right, the Pisces energetic, through more self-compassion, and self-forgiveness and higher understanding, right? Anytime we're having, which can be a Virgo South Node shadow that we're dealing with, anytime we're experiencing judgment or blame towards self or others, if it's towards others, it's really a reflection of what's happening internally for us. And when we are in that, most of us were conditioned into a life where self-judgment, self-shame, self-blame, all can come up really strongly for us. It's usually our inner critic, which can be very much the Virgo energetic. When the inner critic gets turned on, it's when the wounding to an aspect of our inner child is activated. And the inner critic kind of comes on as a way we think it's like an adaptive thing. Maybe it was at one point. But what happens is that that aspect of our inner child that's wounded takes over. It takes over our consciousness. And we start seeing reality from that place of I'm not enough, or we start seeing reality from that shame place, or like having where our mind is telling us like belittling or berating things, and it disconnects us from the love that we are, the fullness that we are, the the totality that we are. And there's this really powerful invitation, I feel, to have some real healing around that healing of the self-doubt, the self-judgment, the self-shame, with this full moon to really maybe fully release some of these old patterns that we think will maybe motivate us to do better or be better in the future, but really end up just self-limiting us. So we can really open up to Pisces, the more of the wholeness of the love that we are, the wholeness of love that is all around us at all times, the Pisces, all the multidimensional possibilities that are here and available to us at every moment in time that we don't see when that aspect of our inner child that has unresolved wounding starts seeing reality from this place. So we can really open up to more of the creative energy that's here at all times. And there's something so powerful. I mean, how do we do that one? It can actually just be like you shared, Mar, feeling, letting ourselves feel the grief, feel the tears, letting the tears flow. There's so much possibility for like the inner parenting work as well. And with the Pisces, to really connect with our inner divine mother and inner divine father and reparent our precious inner child in a way that they needed but never received from this lifetime or many previous lifetimes. But I really see that's, I mean, there's a whole other, I went so much into it with the interview with Kaylin, but what I'm really seeing is the potential to really release and heal some of these harsh kind of inner critic patterns that we've had that have actually been very self-limiting to us, even though we think, oh, I need to be hard on myself because that will motivate me to do better. And it really doesn't. And with the moon trining Uranus, with this eclipse, a perfect like 23-degree trine, 23-degree moon in Virgo, 23-degree Uranus and Taurus, I see this really powerful opportunity to have really fast moving change, things starting to align and shift very quickly for healing some of these really like harsh patterns that we've been very harsh towards ourselves with. And Uranus is, now moving, has been or has gone direct since the end of January and is really, it's like going to start picking up speed soon, moving through the last decan of Taurus. We've had Uranus in Taurus since like 2019. I think 2018 and 19 was retrograding back and forth into Taurus and Taurus since 2019. So this has been, 6, 7 years, and Uranus is going to make it into Gemini this year. And then retrograde back into Taurus, and then, we'll be into Gemini to stay for many years, or for, 6 years or so to come, starting next year. Uranus moving through the last decan of Taurus, I've really been feeling into it. Uranus in Taurus has been, shaking up our old foundations where we've been stuck and stagnant in our comfort zone. Our comfort zone, a sense of safety is not bad. We need a sense of safety, a base level of safety for our nervous systems to be settled and regulated enough for us to, thrive in our lives. But what happens is most of the time as human beings, it's natural to, unless you have an astrology chart that maybe like speaks otherwise, it's our human nature to not like change, to like consistency. And we can get stuck and stagnant in our comfort zones where our comfort zones start becoming self-limiting to us. And this is what Uranus and Taurus has been working at the last 6 years to get us to shake up where we've been stuck in our comfort zones that are actually self-limiting. And Uranus moving through the last 10 degrees of Taurus. I mean, it's almost like I don't want to be the messenger to say it. It's actually, it will be really beautiful on the other side of it. But some of us, it's like the final initiation where we've been really clinging on to comfort and consistency, like where we've been clinging, 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 even when the universe has been trying to say, hello, like step out of that comfort zone. There's something new beyond that threshold that's actually beyond your wildest dreams. It's actually really beautiful, but like we've been so scared to let go of it. Uranus is, if we've been not letting go of it, Uranus might have might shake us up to wake us up a little bit. It might feel like the rug getting pulled from under us. So the more we can let go and step out of our comfort zone, like the full stepping off, the full card in the tarot, stepping off the cliff into the great unknown, into infinite possibility. There's so much potential there. So if you're also in the months to come getting with eclipse season and Uranus going through those last 10 degrees of Taurus, really getting things shaken up, pushing you into change. It's like there's something so beautiful on the other side of that threshold. And if you can just like be with it, be with the change and know that there is something beautiful on the other side of it.
Beautiful. Love this. Okay, so I think we are at our time, and we already had to lose Nora. So, so if anybody has like a final quote, but one of the things I woke up from a dream back in 2000 that said love heals everything. And I just feel like that's something we need to remember right now. Love heals everything, and love is the answer to everything. So that's what I'm going to leave us with. And if Mar or Jamie, if you have final words to say to leave us with, let me know. Let us know, and then we'll wrap this up.
Dream.
Beautiful.
Dream big.
Yeah, and the body. When I was listening to Jamie about Uranus in Taurus, it's like the body is the portal. It's like the manifestation and everything. So our feelings is to create a space to feel what your body wisdom is trying to tell you. Because if we are too busy, we don't hear, we don't listen to. So it's important to create a space because these energies are very yin. Like everything we were talking is water, earth, and they are not on our faces. We need to create a space to listen to these dreams, to rest as well. I think that's a very important message for this month, to rest, to take like just rest, because it's a lot. And what Jamie was saying, there is so much energy going on, and that if we are empathic and all of this, it's like all of these changes, all of these Pisces, all of these dreams, all of these. So it's like just rest sometimes, and not like having to do things all the time. And Mars is in Cancer as well. So it's like the doing now is much more just nurture yourself, because
So
we
I
are
think
prepared
we
for
have
the
three words that we can sum it up with:
yeah.
dream, listen, and love.
Right.
So,
Yes.
all right. So bye, everyone.